In building fantasy football teams this year, whether it's a high stakes league, best ball, your buddies, your office pool, there really are these 5 players that I keep coming back to over and over again. They're affordable, they fit any roster, and most importantly, they have the data to back them up. To make this list, basically a player needs to be undervalued, work in any roster build, but more importantly, does need to have legitimate league winning upside once the fantasy playoffs roll around. I've got 5 guys here for you, and let's begin with someone you probably wouldn't expect, Brock Purdy. He has been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in football since the end of the league. I actually used to be a Brock Purdy hater. I did not think that Brock deserved this huge contract from the 49ers, and he really did prove me wrong last year. Last season, he threw for 3,864 yards and 20 touchdowns in 50 games. He did that in a really difficult year for the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey was injured, Deebo Samuel was injured, Brandon Ayuk was injured, Kittle was in and out of the lineup, the left tackle Trent Williams was out. It was all a mistake. Ricky Pearsall was kind of the number 1 wide receiver for a little while, despite the fact that he was returning from actually being shot, and we are going to talk a little bit more about him later. But last season, Purdy actually led the NFL and EPA and CPOE composite. Now, you probably don't care about that. That's advanced data. It's kind of stupid. But what it means to me is that Purdy is actually the best, Mick Shanny quarterback ever, which is someone who played with McVay or Shanahan or Shanahan's dad. His baseline relative to guys like Jimmy Garoppolo, Nick Mullins has been really high. The 49ers have the easiest schedule in the NFL this year if you look at kind of any of the strength adjusted schedule. Now, is strength of schedule at the end of the year, is any of that going to matter? Probably not. There'll probably be some, pretty difficult games for them out there. But I basically expect Purdy to be the cheapest quarterback in your draft who has the ability to be a quarterback 1 in any given week. Do I think Brock Purdy is going to outscore Lamar Jackson? Absolutely not. But could Brock Purdy throw for 42 touchdowns with only 11 interceptions? Absolutely. I do feel pretty confident about that. So Purdy is my favorite, cheaper quarterback in fantasy football this year, and is going to be my quarterback 1 in a bunch of leagues. And in fact, in the home league that I drafted last week is my quarterback 1. The second player that we're going to talk about, and again, I can't believe I'm saying it, is Isaiah Pacheco. His 2024 was cut short. He had just 310 rushing yards, 1 touchdown, came back from that lower leg injury way too quick. I think we can all agree, looking back on Isaiah Pacheco's 2024, when he hurt his leg, he should have just said, that's it. That's done. I'm out. Let Kareem Hunt handle it. Let, Carson Steele handle it, and I will come back and be better than ever. Obviously, Pacheco, man, he's a warrior. He wanted to play. He came back. He was awful. He really was quite bad. Now, even with that, per Pro Football Focus, over the course of Isaiah Pacheco's career, he does average 3.5 yards per carry on plays when the blocking has not been perfect. Doesn't average a ton of yards after contact. Obviously, we all know Isaiah Pacheco runs like he's mad at the ground. But it's really as simple as this. Isaiah Pacheco was the running back 6 in fantasy football last year in expected points per game in the games that he played before he got hurt. We all love Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice was the wide receiver 17 in expected fantasy points per game at the point in which he got injured. I think we can forgive Isaiah Pacheco for playing poorly when he returned from injury. We can look at the depth chart behind him. Kareem Hunt, who had 0 explosive plays last year, 0 plays over 20 yards starting running back for the Chiefs. Eli Mitchell might not even make the team, and Brashard Smith really is more of sort of, a Kadarius Toney, DeAnthony Thomas, McCole Hardman, part running back, part wide receiver, punt returner style guy. I like Brashard Smith, don't get me wrong, but in the 7th round, you are not going to find a guy who can score 15 touchdowns the way Isaiah Pacheco could potentially score 15 touchdowns. It really is about the price there. Returning to the 49ers, we have Ricky Pearsall. He was the first-round pick for the 49ers in 2024. He flashed big-time upside late in the year in that game against Detroit when he went for 141 and a touchdown. Now, I will absolutely give this to you guys. Other than that, Pearsall was terrible. He had a 6-game stretch where he had only 2 total receptions, and he was playing full-time there, but I'm giving him a pass for 2 reasons. The first being, he did literally get shot. I would just like to return to this. He got shot and played in these NFL games. So that is pretty big. The other reason being he also had a hamstring injury and a shoulder injury he was playing through, and I think he probably was just available because, we were looking around the room for the 49ers. There was no one else there. Historically, if you just look at making bets like this, first-round wide receiver, underperformance in year 1, a lot of the times you actually are going to find an upward trend. There are more guys you would think who looked like busts in year 1 who ended up playing better in year 2. But furthermore, we have Brandon Ayuk, who's not going to be cleared by week 1. Deebo Samuel is out of town. George Kittle is 31. Christian McCaffrey is 29, and he has this Achilles injury. Who knows how often he's going to play? I think it's not illogical to suggest that Ricky Pearsall could lead the 49ers in receptions in certain pathways of the season. But again, coming back to the cost thing, Ricky Pearsall is the least expensive bet to make as a pass catcher on the 49ers offense who's going to be active in week 1. Ayuk is cheaper, but I'm really not in to buying Brandon Ayuk. Another young wide receiver who's number 4 on this list is Emeka Igbuka. Igbuka was Tampa Bay's first-round pick this year, 19th overall. He is Ohio State's all-time leading both passing yardage receiver and total receptions. He averaged 2.75 yards per route run against zone coverage at Ohio State. That's 95th percentile for all college receivers. He was injured in 2022 and for a little bit in 2023 was in college when he was in college at Ohio State. And it is, don't get me wrong, a little bit of a fib that he is Ohio State's all-time leading receiver because, think about it, use your brain. Garrett Wilson left early, Marvin Harrison Jr. left early, Jackson Smith and Jigba left early, Chris Olave left early. All the guys who were truly, truly elite left early because they were destined to be first-round picks. I don't think Igbuka knew he was going to be a first-round pick, but he went to a perfect situation in Tampa Bay where he has the awesome Baker Mayfield throwing him passes. Chris Godwin is coming back from injury. Jalen McMillan only averaged 1.17 yards per route run. We remember McMillan being good for fantasy because he kept scoring those touchdowns, but really the performance he put on the field is nothing like what we'd expect from Igbuka. Cade Otton will be out there a lot, but is not a target earner. It really wouldn't be insane to me for Igbuka to come out and be the wide receiver 2 week 1 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and for the wheels to kind of just be off from there, the training wheels. I really think Igbuka could kind of finish as a top 15, top 10 wide receiver, 3 to 5% of the time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's thin, but I think that there's a potentially monster season there for Igbuka. And again, a guy who goes after pick 80 in most of your leagues, I think he is an absolute slam dunk. And fantasy this year, we're going to end this list with absolutely old reliable. We have David Njoku, who over the past 2 seasons has averaged 33 routes per game and 7.8 targets per game. Both of those would rank top 5 amongst all tight ends in the NFL right now. We know the usage is good. We know that David Njoku is really good. And we know that even last year, in that crazy, awful, no good Cleveland season, he still caught 64 passes for 505 yards, 5 touchdowns in 11 games. He actually averages double-digit fantasy points per game in any game that Deshaun Watson has not started over the most recent 2 years. How insane is that? Think about how bad the other Cleveland Browns quarterbacks have been. Right now, it's looking like Joe Flacco might start week 1 for the Cleveland Browns, which is wheels up for us. At the end of the year, all bets are off, man. Could be Dylan Gabriel, could be Shadur Sanders, maybe Deshaun Watson comes back. Who knows? I don't know. You don't know. But that's later. That's like week 10, Davis's problem. That's not really my problem right now. I just know that David Njoku is locked down to an every down role on a team where he is probably the best target earner. No disrespect to Jerry Jeudy. Maybe a little bit of disrespect intended to Jerry Jeudy. So there's your list. Brock Purdy, Isaiah Pacheco, Ricky Pearsall, Emeka Igbuka, and David Njoku. All these guys are very affordable. All of them do have the potential to win you a league. So comment down below who is your must-draft player. Let me know in the comments. And if you're drafting on Underdog Fantasy, why don't you use that promo code Davis for the deposit match? Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you guys all back tomorrow.